It's a beautiful country house and estate at the heart of rural Dorset. Kingston Lacy has witnessed many twists and turns since it was built in the 1600s.
One of the most extraordinary and rather racy, I'm told, chapters belongs to estate owner William John Banks, a talented draftsman, collector and adventurer.
Well, his story has been featured as part of the Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender History Month in a production at the National Trust property called Girl, Boy, Child. Alan Sinclair has the story.
If walls could talk. The National Trust owns many of Britain's finest properties, and some colourful stories lie within their closets. At Small Hythe in Kent, Christabel St John lived with her theatrical friends in a ménage à trois of lesbian suffragettes. In Wales, the flamboyant Marquis of Anglesey, Henry Paget, wore diamonds, carried a white poodle and drove a car which sprayed perfume from its exhaust. And at Kingston Lacy in Dorset, William John Banks, who inherited a red brick country house, transformed it into an Italianate palace, only to be suddenly parted from it.
William John was caught twice, actually, in an indecent act, as it was known at the time. The first time he was caught, he actually managed to escape prosecution, largely because of a favourable character reference that he received from the Duke of Wellington. But the second time, some years later, he was an MP by that point, and he was caught with a guardsman in Hyde Park, and I don't think there was much question about what he was doing.
William faced a crisis. He was a society figure, a friend of the poet Lord Byron. He had amassed a huge art collection and imported architectural features from across the world to embellish his house. This doorway came from the Vatican. But he knew that he was likely to receive a death sentence. So he signed his property over to his brother, skipped bail and escaped to France. He would never see Kingston Lacy again, but remained master of the house.
Even when he was in exile, he couldn't leave it behind, so to speak. He sent back letters and designs to his architect, Charles Barry, and also to his sister, who was living here at the time. Some quite clear instruction, incredible level of detail about what he wanted. He could still see Kingston Lacy in his mind's eye, there's no doubt about that, and the results really speak for themselves.
This year, singer-songwriter David McAlmont, working with the University of Leicester, has created a performance inspired by these characters who challenge the conventional notions of sexuality in their time.
Blessed be the eccentricity of some.
The work, titled Girl, Boy, Child, will be performed in William's beloved Kingston Lacy.
A child, a child.
The spirit of William John runs through this house through and through, yes, you'll be surrounded by the art and the collections of William John, and the performance will be made all the more special because of that.
For the crime of his sexuality, William remained in exile for 14 years before he died in Venice in 1855. His family had never judged him.
There doesn't seem to be any animosity at all, any hard feeling. They potentially had a lot of sympathy for him. And, you know, people aren't defined by their sexuality. His body was brought back to the UK on his death, and he is actually buried in Studland, which was part of the Kingston and Lacy estate then, and so he was brought home.